What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Now, first of all, before we get into today's stories, I do just want to apologize. I know I've not made too many original episodes over the past couple of weeks. I've been extremely busy, but that is no excuse. So just to let you know, I'm sorry. I'm back. Don't worry. There's going to be more regular new stuff on the channel. And we just hit 600,000 subscribers today at the time of recording, which is an insane milestone. And because of that, I've decided I'm going to do an extended live stream. Now, I'm not entirely sure at this moment when I'm going to do it. I'll announce it in an upcoming episode, and I'll also put it on my community tab on YouTube. And if you want to follow me on Twitter as well, or Instagram, links are down below, and I'll post about it on there. But I've been thinking, I want to do a 3-hour live stream of my most popular series right now, which is Reddit Stories to Sleep To. So a very chilled out live stream that will be turned into an episode, into a movie. But yeah, just me and you chilling out on a certain day. And yeah, I think it could be good fun to say thanks for hitting 600k. Now, I'm not sure exactly when I'm going to be able to do it because I'm running a marathon in a week or so. I'm going to Estonia to run that marathon. Again, if you want to keep up to date with that, Instagram is the place to do so. But yeah, just thought I'd let you guys know that I am back. Thanks to 600k. And today I've got an unbelievably good story for you. It's pretty crazy, to be fair. It's probably going to make quite a few of you quite angry. But, you know, that's kind of the point of it. It's just a crazy story. Without further ado, let's get into it. Thanks again. Here we go. My mother-in-law, 56 female, deliberately infected my 27 female daughter, 1 female, with chickenpox. I'm livid. She doesn't think it's a big deal. This was originally posted on December the 29th, 2015. I can hardly type this out because thinking about it makes me so angry. Earlier this year, my husband, who is 31, and I decided to spend Christmas with his family for the first time since my daughter was born last September. Since they live 12 hours away, we decided to stay for a few weeks before Christmas so they could spend loads of time with Annie, who is 13 months old. We arrived early like we planned, and everything was great. I've had a few disagreements with my mother-in-law, Trish, who is 56, in the past over my parenting style. She criticized me for using disposable diapers, buying baby food from the supermarket, and not raising Annie as an organic baby. But everything seemed great. After a day or two settling in, my husband and I decided to pick up a few gifts from a mall around an hour away before the last-minute rush kicked in. My father-in-law, 60 years old, tagged along. Trish said she was happy to take care of Annie. We got back a few hours later, and Annie was down for a nap on a blanket I didn't recognize. Trish said that one of her friends dropped by and gave it as an early Christmas gift. It looked pretty old and worn, but I figured one of her hippie friends was just recycling it. The next 2 weeks were fine, aside from Trish making a point to prepare meals for Annie from scratch. I mentioned this to my husband, and he just said to let her be. Annie mostly mushed the food Trish gave her with her hands and threw the bowls on the floor, as she's been doing that at the moment. Trish said it would take her a while to get used to nutritious meals. Now, I was getting sick of her meddling, but it was only for a few weeks, so for the sake of the holidays, I let it slide. The day after Christmas, Annie was really unsettled and wouldn't stop fidgeting and crying. I took her temperature and she had a fever, so I kept an eye on her for the next few days, and it thankfully started to go down. This morning, she started to get a rash and blisters on her arms and legs, and I freaked out. I was packing a bag to drive to see a doctor when Trish asked where I was going. I told her that Annie had a rash and I was taking her to see a doctor. She got a weird, smug smile on her face and told me there was nothing to worry about. When I asked her what she was talking about, she said, without even looking at Annie, that what she had was just chickenpox. I asked her how she could possibly know that, and she casually admitted that one of her friend's grandkids had chickenpox a few weeks ago, so she asked them to wipe a blanket over the child's arms, legs, and face and bring it to her house. At this point, I couldn't believe what I was hearing, so I asked if that blanket was the gift that Annie was sleeping on. She said it was. I lost my mind. To be honest, I don't really remember what I said because I was up most of the night for 2 days checking on Annie. I just unleashed on Trish, asking what the frick was wrong with her. My husband and father-in-law came to try and calm things down, and Trish dug in her heels and said that chickenpox was, quote, the best and most natural thing for Annie to build up her immunity. I already have a vaccination schedule in place with my pediatrician, and she was booked in to get immunized for chickenpox at 18 months. We drove to see the doctor, and he confirmed that she had it. He said I'll have to cut Annie's nails short and might have to tape socks on her hands while she sleeps because kids so young can scratch until they bleed, and that will leave scars. On the drive back, my husband started making excuses for his mum, that she was only doing what she thought was best. I couldn't believe he was defending her, and we fought most of the way home until I told him to stop talking to me. Annie's been scratching like crazy, and I just had to tape socks over her hands. Trish tried to talk to me when we got back, and I told her to get out of my sight. We were meant to stay until Wednesday, but I just finished packing up our stuff so we can leave first thing in the morning. I'm so angry I can't even think. Whenever I hear Trish moving around in the kitchen, my heart starts beating faster, and I feel like going out there and grabbing her by the hair. I don't ever want to see her again, or let my daughter see her again. What can I say to make her and my husband realise the enormity of what she's done? I don't think I can speak coherently to their faces until Annie gets better. Okay, that is it for the original post. Before we get into the update, let's have a look at some comments. Somebody asked why her daughter wasn't already vaccinated for chickenpox. OP said she's up to date on her vaccination schedule. She was vaccinated for measles a month ago and booked in to get the chickenpox vaccine at 18 months old, as normal. Now, somebody else said, if someone did this to my child, deliberately infecting them with a disease without discussing it with me, with the malicious intent of undermining my parenting to teach me a lesson, they'd never see my child for extended periods or unsupervised again. And then finally, somebody said, and by the way, I completely agree with that previous comment. Somebody said, your husband better step up and act like a father and stop acting like a son. I agree with that as well. Why is he enabling his own mum's behavior? Come on, you're better than that. Now, I think the most important part about this entire post is that even if OP's mother-in-law was doing this with the best of intentions and perhaps, you know, back when she was a child or had her son, that was the way that they did things. I'm saying this just because I think I'm remembering back to my childhood, and I'm not sure, I'd have to ask my parents about this, but I feel like when I was young, that was something that you had done. Like it was important that every child had chickenpox at some point relatively early on in their life. Now let me know in the comments down below if times have changed now or things are done differently, but I'm pretty sure that you didn't get immunized, or maybe this is just in the UK, but I'm not sure that there was immunization that was a thing. I think it was more just you got it, so it was a good thing to get. Like, you know, if your kid had chickenpox, you would have chickenpox parties, for example. It was an actual thing where you would, you know, your kid would meet with other kids that had chickenpox and then get it, and that was actually like the done thing. I don't know if that's still a thing right now, if that's the thing these days anymore, or maybe that was just a weird thing that we did. Who knows? Maybe I'm remembering it wrong anyway. The whole point is that even if OP's mother-in-law thought that that's what she was doing and was like, okay, no, it's important for my granddaughter to get chickenpox right now so she'll be safe from it later. I think the point being that if you get it earlier, it's not dangerous. If you don't get it and then get it later, it is dangerous. Whatever. The point is, it's not your daughter, and you're doing this without consulting the parent, which is just insane. As that comment said, you're taking your granddaughter's sort of, I don't know, life into your own hands in a way, right? Like, not discussing doing that with your granddaughter's mother is absolutely insane. I mean, surely that's like bordering on illegal. I'm not sure. But anyway, yeah, let me know in the comments down below if what I said makes sense there. If you guys had a similar thing, maybe immunization has moved on. Let's move on anyway to the update. Now, this was posted February the 2nd, 2016. OP says, thank you to everyone for your comments, inbox messages, and advice after my original post. I read all the comments and messages, and they genuinely helped, especially the home remedies on how to stop itching. I got up first thing the next morning and started packing our stuff into the car. Once I opened it up, I kept the keys in my pocket since I was going in and out. Usually, we use Jack's set, my husband, and leave mine in my bag. While I was packing, he sat in the kitchen with Trish and my father-in-law and chatted and had coffee like nothing was wrong. Annie was mercifully still asleep, so I just gently belted her in and closed her door when Jack came out and asked if I had everything. I said we were good to go as soon as he was. He said, okay, and calmly took out his key seat and centrally locked the car, locking Annie in. I asked him what the heck he was doing, and he said we wouldn't be leaving until I apologized to Trish. What? That he just locked your kid in the car? Oh my gosh. I think I was stunned into silence because he then took the chance to rehash what he said the previous day, that Trish thought she was doing what was best, that chickenpox doesn't kill you, and that I was making a bigger deal out of this than I needed to and making Trish feel bad. Yes, making her feel bad. All the comments from my last post were swirling around in my head, and I told him he needs to stop being a son and start being a father. He screwed up his face and said he would always be Trish's son, and that was the point. That nobody should speak to his mother the way I had the day before, and I needed to apologize to clear the air. This guy is awful, wow. I felt like I'd entered some kind of weird Twilight Zone where I'd accidentally married a 9-year-old instead of an adult man, so I just asked him to open the car so he could leave. He repeatedly refused, then walked back inside and said he would see me in there when I was acting more reasonable. You can probably guess what happened next. I'd left my bag on the passenger seat, so he probably assumed my keys were in there. Nope, I waited 30 seconds, then just hopped into the car and drove away. My phone blew up with a million calls from him, Trish, and my father-in-law. Eventually, my mum and dad and my sister Jess, who I'm super close with, called as well. I'd briefly texted Jess about what was happening the day before, but she was stunned to get the full blow-by-blow. By the time I was on the open road, I asked her to phone Jack and tell him he could walk home for all I care. Once she heard my side of the story and not Jack's, which was apparently that I'd gone crazy, frightened Trish, snatched Annie and sped away, she calmed way down. Mum, Dad and Jess offered to start driving and meet me halfway so I could switch with one of them and wouldn't have to drive the full 12 hours by myself in one day. I was so grateful to see them, I pretty much broke down in a truck stop parking lot while I blubbered that I loved them. Fair play to them, by the way. I mean, you'd hope that someone that you love that much, your family, would do that. But it's still a big shift to drive 12 hours, right? 6 hours there, 6 hours back. So respect. They all took turns driving while I had a rest. It was super reassuring to talk it over and hear that Trish and Jack are the unreasonable ones. Once we got back, I stayed at my parents' overnight and they said I could stay as long as I needed. The next few days were fairly tense. I was up most of the night making sure Annie didn't scratch, which she did anyway, somehow. And it seemed like she just cried and cried and cried until she was exhausted. She has 5 scars on her face and a few others on her arms from scratching. I know appearances shouldn't matter, but I'm so angry her skin is marked for life now over some stupid BS. This whole thing is just something I never expected to happen. Goodness me. 5 scars on her face and a few others on her arms. That is awful. I answered one of Jack's calls, only to have him start a rant that he didn't recognize this person I'd become. So I hung up on him. He was due to come back for the start of the work year, which I wasn't looking forward to, but I figured we could make it work as long as Trish was 12 hours away. Then at like 11 PM one night, I got a very short and formal text from my father-in-law via Jack's phone saying Trish had come down with shingles and was in the emergency room, that Jack was staying there to care for her, and that he'd work from their house remotely once the year started back up. Jack's been there for the past few weeks, tending to Mama's every whim. I'm sure she's put on an Oscar-worthy performance of having one foot in the grave. And according to Google, it should be any day now that her painful, crusty pustules go gently into that sweet night. A few weeks ago, I was honestly so tired and overwhelmed and in disbelief that I didn't know what to do. Now I'm back at home with people who actually care about me. I think I'm starting to realise how lucky I am to see the weird relationship with his mummy this early on. The fact that he cares more about Trish than his own daughter speaks volumes. When he eventually comes back, I think we'll have to have a serious talk about our future together. Yes, that is the key thing here. I mean, if you love your mum more than your partner and your child, to be honest, I do think that something is a little bit off there. I'm all for loving your mum, but not more than those other people in your life, surely. Right, here are some comments. Somebody said, he locked your daughter in the car, holy, and assumed that you wouldn't be able to get her out. I mean, that was why he locked her in, to threaten you. Holy heck. Good on you for dipping out of there after that. Whatever happens with your marriage moving forward, you seem to have your parenting priorities straight. Good luck, and I hope that Annie feels better soon. Yeah, somebody else said. He locked a sick baby in the car. Kudos to OP for handling that with a cool head, because I would have lost mine. Yeah, 100%. Somebody else said, that is freaking terrifying behavior. That poor baby is going to grow up with that as a father. Absolutely true. I mean, the only option there would have been to instantly call the police. But imagine, right, if you didn't have your keys, there's a good chance that you didn't have your phone either, if that was in your handbag. What would you have done? Your kid, your baby, your sick baby is locked in a car and your husband is not letting you in. What can you do? I mean, you'd have to just go and find a member of the public and say, call the police immediately. But yeah, terrifying stuff. And finally, somebody said, you only get shingles if you've had chickenpox. The new vaccine prevents it. Rather ironic. I'd get divorce papers served before Mummy Dearest decides your daughter should become a Brethren or join Scientology. Yeah, makes sense. I have no idea what a breatharian is, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But hey, any breatharians out there? Let me know in the comments down below just what you are. So there we go, guys. That ends probably one of the most terrifying stories I've read in a while. Let me know in the comments down below. Have you ever been locked in a car? If so, how was it? That's what I can say. Because sometimes at moments like this, there's no point being serious, because the story itself is too serious. And the magnitude of what I've just read isn't even really worth talking about. I feel like the comments have done that for me. Yes, this guy left his own child sick in the car and locked the door. Congrats. See you in prison. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this one. Really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, get in the comments down below. Please give me some answers to my questions that I've raised in this one, and just your general overall thoughts. Pretty crazy. If you want more right away, I've left an episode up on screen. Make sure you're subscribed if you aren't already, and I will catch you with the next one very, very soon.